On the 13th of September 2014, we finally got our very first handheld Super Smash Bros. Game. I yearned for this for years. Ever since the Game Boy Advance and the DS, I wanted Smash in the palm of my hands, and we finally got it. And it wasn't compromised. It was a full-on, next-generation Smash. We'd waited, 6 years from Brawl to get this game? And it came out even before the console one, before Wii U, by months. And we finally had brand new characters, brand new stages, brand new modes, brand new mechanics evolved online in the smallest possible form factor. Ash, I know this game means a lot to you because it gave you your boy.
Yeah.
However, though, where does Smash 3DS lie in the legacy of this series for you?
I mean, for me, of course, a lot of that is tied to the fact that, as you said, I got my boy Mega Man. But more than, or not more than that, but I think equally as important as that is the fact that the gap, as you were saying, felt so long between Brawl and Smash 4. And I remember just wanting a new Smash so badly because, as you all know, all three of us here, we love Smash. And so, Brawl, I loved it. It was a great game, and I felt like I played it forever waiting a new one, but I was so desperate for something new, an evolution to the series, that I remember just actively getting into games or trying to get into games like PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, because I just needed anything to fill that gap to the next Smash game. And obviously that didn't quite fill that, that Smash-shaped space in my heart. But we did eventually get there, and it was announced in the most exciting way possible for yours truly, with Mega Man being the second newcomer confirmed right after Villager. And I still remember that morning like it was yesterday. It was a true kid on Christmas morning moment for me. And so, for me, Smash 3DS, and I would say Smash 4 in general, will always carry that really special legacy for me. Because, as you both know, there's nothing quite like the feeling of getting your most wanted dream character in a Smash game. And man, this makes me feel so old, but I started dating my now wife during the Brawl Dojo updates, and she knew, bless her by the way for putting up with this, but she knew how badly I wanted Mega Man in Smash after Sonic. In every Brawl update I'd be like, maybe, and it of course never happened. And this also, fast forward to Smash 4, it happened, thankfully. But you also have to remember, that was right in the middle of that horrible Mega Man drought that, the series was at the lowest point it's maybe ever been. So Mega Man fans had pretty much given up all hope, I think, at that point. I certainly had. So to have that at that particular time made it even better, made it even more special. But we're not just here to talk about Mega Man.
Well, Daniel, you and I played this game together earlier. And there's a drastically different feel, the game feel, I mean. And often, I feel like there's a sentiment that Ultimate replaced Super Smash Bros. 4. Do you feel that way, or is that, like, poppycock to you, to use a vulgar word?
So Smash 4 started, like, what would be, like, essentially a 10-year cycle of the series, Sakurai working on this series. And because to go back to the very beginning, as we did earlier today, it was a trip, because it feels so different, it feels so... it doesn't feel worse. They all feel different. Each Smash game has its own iteration of how they implement their mechanics, whether for some better or worse, depending on how casual or how hardcore of a Smash player that you are. But Smash for 3DS is the tricky one to talk about because it does have a quote unquote like better version on console of itself. There's a lot less features on the 3DS. There's a lot of unique things that it doesn't have going into the console version. There are some things on the 3DS that you can only get in that experience, but to say that it's completely replaceable, I think it's a bit of an exaggeration. It's kind of hyperbole. There's always a reason to go back to a Smash game, whether it's reliving different classics, classic modes, as we'll probably talk about certain modes on 3DS in this discussion, and certain characters. They feel very different too. Like just getting the feel for these characters. Jumping back from Ultimate, it's really unique, and I can't imagine like not having this title. It's a very impactful title for the entire series in itself. So,
I mean, not to go off topic completely, but I feel like Smash doesn't always get the respect it deserves in how it iterates upon each entry. Like you've got other 2D fighters like Street Fighter, which can just continue being Street Fighter, doing like new characters, changing the mechanics a little bit. But when Smash does that, with the next game, it's always like, oh, they have to reimagine the next one. But I feel like each one has a very distinct feel. Like going between 4 and Ultimate, there are so many minor changes that really do make it just feel like a completely different game, even though the base is very similar. But just like things like being able to jump and attack at the same time. If you jump and press A in Smash 4, you just slash. Like you don't jump in the air. Whereas in Ultimate, you have like a little hop there. You've got like the shields are different, the parrying is different, the air dodge is different. These all add up to make a very different feeling fighting game. So like while I would be excited for the next Smash to like redefine everything, I'm also just fine with it iterating again and just kind of taking the same sort of steps forward that the previous ones have.
Yeah, as Sakurai mentioned in the reveal of Ultimate, if you counted all the differences made from 4 to Ultimate, they could be in the thousands. And I don't think people really appreciate how much work they go into to change the experience for not maybe for the better, but also just to make it feel like a new, fresh experience with each Smash game.
But this in particular is a very interesting entry because it shares its legacy with Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. It also sold like twice as much as the Wii U version. However, in the core mindset, it did get undermined. Like, this is not the competitive go-to version of Super Smash Bros. 4. It's typically not the one people talk about even. But there's so much in here that makes it distinct from the Wii U version. But you also can't discuss it without bringing up the legacy of the Wii U version, which includes all the new characters, a bunch of shared stages, a bunch of different modes, the core gameplay. It's all shared between the two. However, it still stands unique on its own. So before we get into the ultra specifics about the 3DS version, let's just talk about the newcomers, because there's a pretty extensive list here. Brawl kind of laid the landscape for third-party characters with Sonic and Snake, and then this game, I mean, it kind of ran with it, but more so in the DLC. In the core roster, though, we got Mega Man, we got Pac-Man, two of the biggest mans in all of gaming. I know, Ash, you have so much to say about Mega Man, but Pac-Man, though,
of course.
He is he's one of the oldest icons in the industry.
Yep.
And Pac-Man likewise, like Mega Man was going through a crisis. Pac-Man kind of was too in that time. He had like Ghostly Adventures, he didn't really have much going on outside of like the occasional hit like Championship Edition. Pac-Man was also kind of struggling for his identity. And then they brought him to Smash and gave him his best possible appearance. None of those horrible teeth. Weird whatever. It's just Pac-Man. And Daniel, you're playing as Pac-Man earlier, and you mentioned how different he feels in this game.
Pac-Man, probably not as much as Ash, but Pac-Man was the one that got me really excited when I saw him appear because I'm a huge Pac-Man fan. He's playing the arcade games with my family way back then. I have a lot of memories of that. And he also, as you mentioned, was fading into obscurity at that point. He had that weird redesign where they put him through a DreamWorks filter, which is terrible, and you don't want to see him like that. And I was like, if he ever happened to be in a Smash Brothers game, I hope they would choose the correct version of him. And they did, and that made me very happy. To see him appear and just have so much love poured into him because his moveset, I think like with Mega Man, very like imagined movesets rather to call back to the rest of the series. And he feels pretty unique as compared to when I was playing him in Ultimate. Like he didn't really feel the same way as he did now. But yeah, to see him appear in this game, it means a lot to you when a character that you hold very beloved to very close to your heart shows up in a Smash Brothers game, because that's so much representation in moveset, in stage, in items, in so many different ways, and it's just that kind of fan service that people are waiting for.
Yeah, there's a great balance of legacy characters, funny characters, and then just catching up on Nintendo characters. So like Shulk was in this game. And I remember when Shulk leaked via, I think it's the ESRB rating, everyone just assumed it was fake. It was a Photoshop Little Mac.
Photoshop Little Mac.
Such a meme.
And like on that note, I was going to bring that up too, John. And on that note, I want to highlight something Tinker in our live audience said a little bit back, saying the Smash 4 hype train was so cool. And God, yes, it was. I mean, as you said, the Brawl Dojo update kind of laid the foundation for that style, but it was really Smash 4 where I think what we think of as the modern style of Smash character reveals started. And that was there were so many different leaks, there were so many different rumors, there was so much speculation. I remember like just refreshing threads every hour, even less than that, for anything new, like when a new leak would drop, or especially the days of the ESRB leak, when which ended up being true. But of course, this was all carried forth into Ultimate's style of character reveals. But when I think of like where that modern style started, I think of Smash 4, and God, I can remember pretty much where I was at every character reveal, what I was doing, where I was, because it was such a momentous occasion for me. And on that note, I do think that would be a fun separate discussion to do, all of us just recounting where we were and what we were doing at every character reveal.
Totally. On that track as well, we've also got like, this game came out in 2014, was announced in 2011? I think on an E3 stage they said it was in development. We had so much Smash from that 2011 point up until the end of Ultimate's DLC, which was like 2021.
2019.
So yeah, from like 2011 until 2021, a 10-year gap, there was just non-stop Smash. The DLC for this game, like the final one came out in 2016, and Ultimate was 2 years later in 2018. It was a non-stop hype train, and I'm kind of happy it's taking a break. But what a time it was to board the journey for the first time and really see all these characters, because every single reveal is amazing. I've gone back and watched these trailers numerous times, and I still love seeing, the Palutena's like anime trailer. We've got Shulk backslashing Bowser in Gaur Plains.
Oh my gosh. This was the era where we weren't sure what was going to happen with Fire Emblem in that series, because that was when it was starting to decline. But then Awakening came out, and that was a shot in the arm for the series. And we were like, okay, is Chrom going to be available to play as in this trailer, or in this game? And then the trailer happened where Chrom is fighting Captain Falcon in the art style, the same art style that they used for that game. That's the thing, that there was different art styles, like as you mentioned, the anime style trailer for Palutena and Pit, and then this one as well. But then they did they pulled a rug under Chrom, and it was Robin instead, and Lucina. I was excited to see. I was like, there's no way it's going to be Lucina, because Chrom, of course, would be the one. But then they completely tricked you with that whole trailer, and it was just all these trailers are such a roller coaster of emotions, and they're just so good to look at even now.
It is so funny because Captain Falcon wasn't announced at that point, and people were genuinely like, have they cut him? And then it was just in a Fire Emblem trailer.
Newcomer, Captain Falcon.
I know. Also, can we just briefly mention the art style in that Little Mac trailer? It's pitch perfect. Yeah. Absolutely pitch perfect. And even the ones that were like regular CG, obviously they looked amazing, but those were so impressive in their own right when you go back and watch Greninja's trailer or Bowser Jr.'s trailer, which made him seem actually menacing for the first time maybe ever. And what was so cool is that you also sometimes got these third-party characters in CG form in the trailer as well, like Mega Man showed up in Bowser Jr.'s trailer, and it was so cool seeing these third-party heroes fight together with Nintendo's stable of heroes too in these CG trailers.
We can talk about a broad Super Smash Bros. 4, just sprinkling it in whenever, but this is specifically the 3DS version. So, Daniel, on the 13th of September 2014, when you got this game, do you remember what the first character you picked was?
Oh man, the first character that I chose, I think... Well, it's funny because we actually tried a demo. A demo came out for this game beforehand.
That's right, it did, yeah.
Right.
And in that, I think there were just 5 characters. It was Mario, Mega Man, Villager, Pikachu, and I forget who the last one was.
I think Link was in there.
Link.
It might have been Link, yeah. It's the funniest thing because when that demo dropped, I was working at this my part-time place at an arcade and golf course. So I went to the back room and we leached the Wi-Fi from the business across so I could download the demo right there. And I remember playing it that night, and I tried Villager for the first time. That was the first character that I ever chose because I was just like, I'm a big Animal Crossing fan, and I'm just like, I need to see how ridiculous his moveset is. And I had a great time with him. Obviously, it's such a weird feeling to see a character that is absolutely nothing has to do absolutely nothing with fighting being represented in a fighting game itself, and just shows how creative that the Smash Brothers team, Sakurai directing, can get with these characters. But essentially that was my first character. Funny enough, I can't remember the actual first character I used the day of that I got it, because I think that left such an impression on me just to be able to have that in my hands and play the demo.
Yeah, a demo is a very un-Nintendo move for this kind of game, but it was so cool they did it. I think Ash would be happy to hear my first character in that demo was Mega Man.
Hell yeah.
And it was just Battlefield, wasn't it, in the demo?
I think so.
Yeah.
Just Battlefield, yeah.
That's all I remember.
I don't have to ask Ash. It was Mega Man who you chose first, right?
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely devoured that demo because, that was, again, part of the many ways they were giving Mega Man such a special spotlight. Like, he was the only third-party character available in the demo, and I think by the end of it all, not even counting Ultimate, I think he had, like, the most new music tracks and the most trophies and later spirits, like, represented out of any third-party character in the series. So they really they did him really well in Smash. Obviously no surprise with Sakurai, but yeah, I obviously picked Mega Man first, and it was one of those things where I feel bad for Derek because Derek is such a big Castlevania fan, and he went on record multiple times saying, I'm gonna be a Belmont main, I'm gonna do it. And in the end he just and like a lot of people I think couldn't quite get over the mountain, and I'm not talking crap, he will admit this too, he couldn't quite ever jive with the way the Belmonts play and just their tether recovery. He's like, I wanted to love them, but I just can't. Whereas I was like, okay, Mega Man clearly plays differently from any other character in Smash up to that point, but I don't care. Yeah, is there a high learning curve? Yeah, am I getting my ass beat at first? Yes, but I'm like, I am gonna make this happen. And I eventually did, but there is a steep learning curve like with Simon and Richter. But I also appreciate that, because Mega Man wouldn't have felt quite right if he played like every other Smash character, because he's not like every other Smash character just by the nature of what he does.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when I was younger and I was picturing a handheld Super Smash Bros. Game, it was always like a sprite-based game in my mind. It was always just like a 2D game. However, 3DS comes along, and it is ahead of the last console game. So like, Brawl was Brawl's crazy ambitious. It doesn't get credit for that. Brawl's a crazy ambitious game with so much music, a whole adventure mode, so many new characters. 3DS though, it manages to. I think if you were to like put the like polygon counts side by side, 3DS probably comes below. But the overall art style and graphical fidelity, especially on the small screen, just pops, especially with 3D on. And it's marvelous to have these stages that come directly from Brawl and play it on the latest handheld. Because usually handhelds are like a generation or two behind, but the 3DS is just managing to replicate the previous home console. And at 60 FPS, there's small blemishes, like the assist trophies are capped at 30, so are Pokeballs.
Right.
But it is a technical marvel, this game. It's astonishing that it runs as well as it does.
It really is. The fact that the frame rate does not take a hit even a little bit with 3D on, given how great the game looks. Like, I love obviously Nintendo have always been very good at working around technical limitations to deliver a visually sumptuous product in the end. And Smash 3DS is that. Like, I love the art style with the thick outlines. I thought that looked really good. And in some cases, the character models actually look not like, obviously they're higher poly in the Wii U version. The Wii U version obviously looks better, but there were certain character models I liked more on 3DS, such as Link. Link is ugly in Smash Wii U. His face, there's something wrong with it.
Ganondorf as well.
Ganondorf too.
Ganondorf has a weird smile in the Wii U version.
Yeah, Ganondorf too, but like Link, like both of them, they just looked. Link's face looked right in Smash 3DS. I don't know what happened, but yeah, there were certain character models that I thought looked a little better in 3DS, despite the lower poly count.
I saw a hot take tweet the other day saying that stereoscopic glasses-free 3D is the worst gimmick of any console. I loved that feature.
It.
And Smash 3DS, it looked so good. If you're playing on a standard 3DS, you press the home button in this game, it would always like take a while to get to the menu.
Yeah.
You can feel how much it's pushing. New 3DS doesn't do that. But if you're playing with, the new 3DS with the eye tracking 3D, I still think it looks great. Like, this is the perfect, it's like you're looking into a box with this game, and the layers of depth in the background. Especially in some stages like the Reset Bomb Forest, there's just so much going on. So I will not take any glasses-free 3D slander in the comments in this panel. I think it's such a cool feature. We'll defend it to the day we die.
I so agree. I never understood the hate for stereoscopic 3D. Obviously, there were people for whom it gave them headaches or they couldn't see it, and I mean, that's definitely, I feel bad for those people. but I don't think that makes it a crappy feature. And not every game used it well, but the ones that did, I never played with the 3D off. It just never lost that gee whiz factor for me. Like you said, it felt like looking into a box, and I'm like, it was just so cool every time I looked at it. I thought so anyway.
There are two stages I want to talk about in particular, because they are outstanding, and they've not left Smash 3DS. Let's talk about Rainbow Road.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. That is one of those things I wish I could ask Sakurai. Just like, hey, not complaining. Obviously, there are like 100 billion stages in Ultimate, but why not Rainbow Road? It would just seem like such a ripe stage to port over. Like Jungle Hijinks, I get, with the whole double layer thing. I get maybe why not. But Rainbow Road? Like, why did it never make the jump?
They said, no, you need 2 Mario circuits. We need to not represent the most recognizable track in all of Mario Kart in this anymore. But, that's tragic. I mean, I love both stages that we're going to talk about. I love both of them. Rainbow Road obviously has such a unique feel to it. It's the same travel. It's also a traveling stage like Mario Circuit for based on Mario Kart 8. But it's Rainbow Road. It's also one of the best Rainbow Road. It's Mario Kart 7's Rainbow Road with the music that comes straight from it. And that's the one you want to represent because it's such a large stage and you can travel to so many different locations. Like I was playing it earlier and I could recognize like, oh yeah, this is the little part where you bounce on the mushroom, or this is the part around the moon. And it's such a great representation of Mario Kart because it's in every single game. But I don't know. I guess something had to get cut somewhere, and they decided to make it to be this track as one of them.
There's no obvious reason why, though. It's no different to most traveling stages. And as you were saying, it's very iconic. There's no part that I dread. Like with a few traveling stages, it's like, oh, this part. But with this one, I'm like, oh yeah, the moon. Oh yeah, the mushrooms. Like it's nothing but joy. Yeah, what a cool stage.
Yeah, it's not the one that's missing that makes me angry. So Rainbow Road, you're fine, I guess.
Yeah. And then there's the Pac Maze. So Smash Ultimate and Smash for Wii U had the Pac Land stage, which that is very significant for history and the culture of platformers. But it's not how. When you think of with Pac-Man, you don't think of Pac Land. You think of a maze with ghosts and dots and power pellets. And Smash 3DS had that, and it was taken from us.
Yeah, that's really... I don't know what the thinking was behind that. Now, I will accept no Pac-Land slander. Obviously, it is the inferior stage compared to Pac-Maze, obviously. But I love me a good dose of Pac-Land just because of the chaos, the weird-ass visuals, just the overall fever dream aspect of it. I actually really like Pac-Land for that reason, even though it's obviously not a great... it's a terrible competitive stage. But I just, when you're playing in a party setting, I like me a good dose of Pac-Land. But yes, obviously Pac-Maze should have been the marquee stage for Pac-Man. And I think the reason Sakurai gave at the time was something about how, the ghosts and stuff that you could shop, like, were specific, and like the power pellets were specific to a single player. And there was some way they could not make that work for... Wii U or Ultimate, but I don't know. Given everything else Sakurai's been able to do over the years, that's just always seemed like kind of a weird excuse to me.
Yeah, I've never gotten it either. So the way that it works is you collect a bunch of power pellets, and then a power pellet for you specifically will spawn. So player 1 gets a bunch of them, then the power pellet appears for player 1. I don't quite understand why that can't be done on a single screen either.
Yeah,
it's not so much different from the Golden Plains. You collect as many coins and then you get a power up. Like if anything, it doesn't have to be the power pellet. Just give them the power up at that point. Then I know it kind of takes away from the identity of the Pac Maze, but you can make it work even without that idea there. I don't know. I don't have anything against MS Paint Land. I think it's all right as it is. But there's like collision is very questionable at times. There's the hydrants that shove you everywhere. The platforms that just fall. The like floating logs that tumble down, you can kind of land on them, but you kind of can't. It's just, I mean, I understand the legacy of Pac-Land, but the stage is a bit irritating. Also because that Pac-Maze isn't there with it. If it was there with it, then fine. Yeah. But I don't know, like where do you? I always wondered where do you land on. Smash 4 for Wii U is mostly console-based stages, and then 3DS is mostly handheld-based stages. Where do you land an arcade machine? Like, where exactly does it fit?
Yeah.
So I guess they just kind of had to throw it into the 3DS versions. But I don't know. It's always going to be a tragic loss for me to not have that here, and still not have it even in Ultimate. it's like, all right, I guess we
Yeah.
just have to take this loss.
You made a good point there, though, Daniel, because there are a lot of handheld-themed stages in this version of the game. We've got, like, Nintendogs, Kid Icarus Uprising. There's a Game Boy-themed stage with Kirby in there.
Paper Mario.
Paper Mario. Well, yeah, it's based on Sticker Star, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's based on Sticker Star, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not a good thing, obviously not a good thing necessarily, but, that it had its origin in Smash 4 specifically because of Sticker Star. But at least it did, the stage does eventually transition into Thousand Year Door, and, what is just Thousand Year Door, then it goes back to Sticker Star. But
Yeah.
still, I mean, like, what a cool inclusion that kind of does still satisfy the handheld origin part of Smash 3DS stages.
I think it still kind of touts a very vague line, because one of the ones that was weird to me was we got Magic Hand, which essentially is from
Yeah.
Earthbound Beginnings, but nothing from Mother 3, the handheld Mother game. Why not?
That was
I don't
always
know.
so weird, yeah.
They don't go all the way with it, do they? Like, there's not much
Yeah.
DS representation, not much GBA representation. Like, there's some Game Boy roots and there's some 3DS like tie-in stages, I suppose. But I do wish they went further. But it's also hard to criticize too much because they made two similar but very different games in the same time span, and there's so much packed in here. So I'll ask a simple question. Either can answer this. Which version, Super Smash Bros. For 3DS or Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, had the better stages?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Man, I mean, it's hard because Smash 3DS gave us, introduced Living Room, and anything with dogs is objectively better than anything
course.
without dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also just one stage. That's hard because Smash Wii U, I mean, Smash 3DS had some of my favorites like Rainbow Road, but Smash Wii U also had some of my favorites as well that I think have really stood the test. Well, no, I mean, both the, Ultimate has 3DS and Wii U stages, and I think they pretty much all stand the test of time. But it's hard for me to overlook stages like Jungle Hijinks and Woolly World, which is another stage that I miss so much in
Yes.
Ultimate. Woolly World is one of my favorite Smash stages ever. And, man, I'd have to look at a list side by side.
They
but I
share
think-
a couple as well. They share Gar Plains, they share the boxing ring. There's also all the DLC stages too, so like Midgar and Street Fighter and everything. And also like the N64 stages came along. 3DS struggled a little bit with the DLC stages. Like some of them were very much cutouts. Like in Midgar, it's all just 2D cutouts. I think Wii U is as well, but it's not as obvious. Same with Gar Plains. You can tell that they stitched a bunch of sort of lower res 2D stuff in there. But 3DS has a bunch of good ones though. Like Reset Bomb, I think, is one of my all-time favorites because it kind of tells a story of that stage in Uprising, but brings it to life in the context of a stage. I don't know where I land on this either because I think 3DS has a bunch of really unique ones, and I was most excited with Ultimate to see those 3DS stages remastered because bringing Wii U to Ultimate, it's like there's a jump, but it's not as big as the jump. 3DS to Ultimate though, huge jump. So it was so cool to see like Living Room in HD and the Tamagotchi Life in HD and all of that.
I think looking at a list side by side here, they're both great. But I think I have to give the edge to Wii U. And there's just so much there that I love. Mario Galaxy, Mushroom Kingdom U, Mario Circuit, Windy Hill Zone. Like,
If you want to talk about a stage that tells a story, Orbital Gate Assault, which never appeared again.
I know, and I love
because
that stage. That was such
I remember
a good stage.
they mentioned something like it took a year to develop this stage because of how intensive it was to put everything together.
Yeah.
It went through so many different areas and stages. You could do the special taunt, and then like they stay there having a conversation for like a minute and a half. It's pretty insane. I think I kind of have to give it to the edge for the Wii U version, even though it gave us certain stages like 75 meter. We've been cursed with things like that that exist even today. But yeah, things like Jungle Hijinks, a unique mechanic that we never saw again as well. Like I think they did more unique stuff with these stages, more ambitious with these stages than they were with the 3DS.
And you know what? There's also one thing I have to call out because I'm kind of known for how much I love this stage. But one thing Smash 3DS will never have that the Wii U at least did at one point is the Miiverse stage.
Oh,
and
yeah.
God, that is one of my favorite stages of all time.
What a
miss the
train
utter-
wreck! A beautiful train wreck.
total beautiful, and I think you could use that to describe Miiverse in general. But like, that was the most non-family friendly thing in any Nintendo game probably ever, because just the most cursed shit would show up in the background of that stage, and you never knew what you were gonna get. And man, the chaos of Miiverse is something that Smash 3DS will just never have.
Yeah.
There were actual spoilers for like Star Wars and Game of Thrones just showing up here. Han Solo dies. Oh no! It just shows up right there.
I'll never forget it. The first KO I ever got as Mega Man on Miiverse was met with a crude drawing of two penises kissing. I swear to God.
I remember the story, and I wish I could forget.
You just can't beat that. You can't beat just the utter cursed chaos of Miiverse.
At least there was some light with Miiverse. I remember at the time of Satoru Iwata's passing, there were so many wholesome posts in Miiverse. There was like Earthbound posts and such like that. So it can be for good, but a lot of the times it wasn't. It's a mixed bag for sure.
Yeah.
So I've asked a hard question, being which game has the better stages? Let's ask what I think is an easier question. Which game had the better modes?
Oh man. You're just going to stack everything against Smash Run right now, which we still haven't talked about.
Exactly.
No, that's where we're going. And Street Smash, Daniel. What do you mean?
And Street Smash.
True. Man, Smash Run was such a cool concept wasted on not Smash 3DS itself, because I love Smash 3DS, but you know, the 3DS had more limited capabilities clearly compared to the Wii U, and I just would have loved to see Smash Run fleshed out into a true online multiplayer mode in either Wii U or Ultimate, because Smash Tour ain't it, man. Smash Tour sucked.
Yeah, this was local only, no online at all.
Yeah.
Smash Run kind of gave us a taste of a little bit of Subspace Emissary in there. Because you start off, and it's basically a free-for-all where you go out and you punch a bunch of enemies from a bunch of different games. So you got enemies from Pokemon, enemies from Mario, like Goombas and Koopas, the Kid Icarus enemies. It's that sort of Smash Emissary feel that you want, but turned into a more bite-sized game. And so you go about, you punch a bunch of things, you level up your attack, your jump, whatever, and then you're thrown into a random battle at the end. You don't know what you're working towards. So the battle could be about speed, it could just be a free-for-all, you don't know. So you're just you're trying to power up as much as you can. And there's a little bit of luck in there, because you may have powered up your jump, and it's a jumping game. Or you may have not powered up your jump, and all of a sudden you're at a disadvantage for that.
Right.
But the pure spectacle and ambition is so far ahead of what Smash Wii U had in its mode.
Yeah,
so true.
Smash Run is such a lost and forgotten gem. It holds a special place in the hearts of people who really love playing Kirby Air Ride for City Trial, because it's something that Sakurai was directly influenced into adapting in the Smash Brothers. Like you fight the collection of items to improve your strength for a final challenge. It's the same format. It would have had so much replayability on console, but I sort of get if they want to keep certain experiences to certain platforms, so it's not like 100% obsolete to never go back to 3DS ever again. But yeah, I had enemies like Stalfos from Ocarina of Time, Tak from Kirby, the little ghost from Find Me, with the little shield were in there, and literally enemies that were from the Subspace Emissary made a return in there as well.
Right. And I guess, and one of those limitations inherent to having Smash Run confined to Smash 3DS was that every player had their own instance. You couldn't actually interact with other players during the Smash, like the run part of Smash Run, and that was always a shame, I thought, because how cool would it have been to have 4 players able to interact with each other and try to hinder each other during the first part before the battle. That just seemed like such steel power-ups. That just felt like such a missed opportunity just to not bring Smash Run forward onto more capable hardware.
Grantles mentions that the Kremlings were in Smash Run as well. They were.
Right.
They hadn't been seen for years, and then they're just strolling along in this 3DS mode.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
There's something amazing about games that let you completely break the normal parameters of your characters,
Yeah.
like jumping so high you fly off screen, or you run so fast that the camera keep up with you, and then just to take that to an actual match, that would have been such a cool online mode, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one thing that was in both this game and the Wii U game before we get to Street Smash. Don't worry, we will get there. But, Daniel, you reminded me of custom moves. So, in Ultimate,
Oh,
you can customize your Miis. In Smash Bros. 4, you can customize everybody. So, like, you can unlock moves for all your specials, like different alternative moves. And for some characters like Mario, it may be that your fireballs move a bit differently. But then you've got Palutena, like, who has completely different specials. And they've taken, like, all those Kid Icarus Uprising special goddess powers, and they've literally made completely optional specials out of them. So it's not just, like, auto-reticle anymore. You get, like, an explosive thing, or you can like turn into a missile or something. We're talking like 3 times the movesets for this character. And some characters were just like her, other ones just slightly altered abilities. But did you guys mess with these custom moves much, or was it just kind of a gimmick for you guys?
there were summons for my mains that I would just I adored so much, and I'm so sad they're not here anymore. The ones for Pac-Man, they were so cracked. Like, there was one with his fruit, like his neutral B was his fruit, right? And there was one that completely changed the properties of all those fruit entirely. Like, usually when you throw the apple, it would just bounce normally across the stage, but when you throw it with, I think it's called Wacky Fruit, when you throw it, it just goes like bump 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 bump, and it just takes off after a while. Or like the my favorite one was his on fire hydrant, where his hydrant just shoots out fire instead of water, which is absolutely ridiculous. They got so funny and creative with some of these. I'm sad that they just kind of never made a return. And for some characters like Palutena, they just kind of made a amalgamation of all those put together into what her moveset became in Ultimate. But
Yeah.
there were so many funny ones and fun ones to experiment with. I understand, like, they weren't really the standard, but it was just unique to have them, and I kind of miss it, honestly.
I missed it too, or miss it too, and I enjoy the novelty. I didn't mess with them myself for that long, at least in an actual, like, competitive with my friends sense, because my friends just didn't have the patience for it, and, you know, they love Smash, but they're not quite as super ingrained in it like I am. So they weren't really paying attention to the special moves. So they were, you know, by about the 20th or so time that I, you know, reflected something with Mega Man Skull Barrier instead of using the really crappy Leaf Shield that got much better. It was buffed like it needed to be in Ultimate, but it sucked in Smash 4. And, you know, it just didn't have very much utility. But then you had the Skull Barrier, which was a reflector. And I still kind of wish Mega Man had that instead, even though, you know, Leaf Shield is so much better in Ultimate. But yeah, after about the 20th time that I you know, popped out Skull Barrier instead of Leaf Shield, my friends were like, yeah, we're just playing with the default special moves. Like, we're done with this crap. But I still enjoyed unlocking them and checking them out for the novelty, just to see how each character specials would be changed up.
Yeah, like, some of them were a bit more on the lame side. I was dabbling in Link's earlier, and like his up special was just a taller twirl. His boomerang was just didn't have the gale. It was just kind of like a dark aura, and one of them was just bigger bombs. Like that's just kind of the same stuff. But other characters like legitimately had 3 times their movesets, just completely new ideas for their moves. You couldn't take them online with everybody, but you could do it with friends. So that was just such a cool optional way to play Smash.
Yeah.
I street passed a lot during this time. I would take it with me everywhere, and a bunch of my games would give me notifications that new people visited. There's new people here. I actually checked my Street Smash earlier. There is still 12 people just in there, just sitting, waiting to be fought with. Since all those years ago, I took a quick video of what that was like. But yeah, essentially, when you pass these people, you could play this top-down version of, I don't even know what to compare it to, but you're like all these little tokens, and you want to pull and drag yourself across the screen to knock all the other tokens off, and
like
you would press
Beyblade.
R to shield.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of Beyblade like. Kind of reminds me of, Professor Bonk in chat saying Tin Pin Slammer from The World Ends With You. It's essentially that game, but with massively multiplayer with 12 people. You can shield and dodge, and you can actually do a perfect dodge and do a lot of damage that way. So they did implement some Smash mechanics into there. And it's funny because before and after a match, you can look up everyone's profile and see how many wins they have, how many KOs they've gotten. And you can earn prizes from it. You can do just practice if you want to. There's no other people to play with, but it was really fun to just get like those actual street passes because it felt like you're actually fighting other people in it, and it was fun. It's one of the little things that Street Pass added to make these games have a little more life in them.
Yeah, I mean, as y'all know, I love Street Pass. I was obsessed with it, and you know, I think you know, that Street Smash was a fun novelty. I don't think it's far from the best implementation of Street Pass in a game, like not even close. But it was a fun novelty, and for me, it was fun, you know, seeing which character people had, you know, picked for their icon, you know, or for their little slider piece, you know, and that helped me discern at a look which people I could be friends with theoretically. Obviously, the ones who'd chosen Mega Man, but but no, it was a fun curiosity. I don't think I really stuck with the actual game part of it for very long, but just the novelty of just seeing new names on your 3DS and seeing which characters they chose, and it was cool. It was a fun novelty.
I want to shout out Classic Mode, because I feel this is one of the best Classic Modes in the series. So, I didn't love having to bet coins to get the difficulty. So if you're low on coins, you can't crank it up to the top. You have to have enough. But I adored the routes you could take. So if you remember, you're on a map, your character's walking along, and it splits into like 3 different routes, and you can choose. That's like a series emblem. You don't know exactly what character it's going to be. But it could have like the Mario Mushroom or the Triforce, so you can decide what character you want to fight or what series you want to fight. And I adored that because it just it makes it a bit more personalized. And if you really don't like a character, you can just like try and avoid that emblem. But yeah, I thought this was just a great easy-going mode. Like if you're on like a train or something, just like play a few rounds of Classic Mode. Yeah, I loved how they did it here.
I did too, and I think what's interesting now that I look at it in hindsight, I think you can see the beginnings, or at least the, you know, base inspiration for what would eventually become World of Light's, you know, overworld map.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, Smash 3DS's world map for Classic Mode looks very similar overall in style. Not the same. There's more of a painterly style here, but it still has the overall vibe of what would later look, you know, what World of Light would look like in its overworld map. So I think that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, Classic Mode was really weird back then. Because I don't know, Classic Mode on the Wii U and for 3DS, not my favorite. Obviously, I think with Ultimate that it was really much personalized to each character, and I think I appreciate that more than doing it randomized here. But it is cool that there's like different paths. It almost felt somewhat roguelike when you were doing that. It's weird because when you start a stage, there's a roulette. And you that's what chooses what prizes you would get, whether it's like trophies or potentially custom move parts or accessories for your Mii. And some of them just felt like they weren't fair because they would just give you like 1 versus 3 out of nowhere. It just kind of like tossed you whatever they felt like. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that because at the end you have probably one of the more unique Master Hand battles in any game in the series for the amounts of stages that it would give you, depending on how difficult you set the meter at the very beginning for.
Right, because you had the ultimate version was, pun not intended, was Master Fortress, right? Where you're literally inside like this organic, pulsing, weird stage that was kind of a stage unto itself before you even got to, I think it was Master Core, they called it, right? And it wasn't just Master Hand, it was Master Core.
Yeah, I think Fortress is only in the Wii U, but you fight Core in both of them.
Yes. I think, so you're right. The Fortress was unique to the Wii U version. But yeah, just in general, I like the way they iterated on the Master Hand concept and kind of gave us something different from what we've seen, really, in any other Smash game. And there's something that, it was I Eat Dragons in our live audience chat just said, and Daniel, I agree with you. I do prefer Ultimate's Classic Mode, but I also agree with I Eat Dragons that Wii U's Classic Mode sucked compared to 3DS's Classic Mode.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one of the biggest things about this game, too, is it was the second Smash game to have online, 6 years after Brawl. I played Brawl online a lot. Obviously, there were problems, but when playing with friends, you could customize the options somewhat. Playing with randoms? No. it was
time
bare
matches.
bones.
I hope you like time matches, because that's all you're going to get with randoms.
But this time, we have for fun and for glory. And the majority of my time online was for Glory 1-on-1. And one of the coolest things of Smash Brothers 4 is it gave us Omega stages. And when playing for Glory 101, you basically just always had Omega, which did get a little bit tiring, but it was so cool to have these options now. We could do stock online with strangers, and honestly, my experience wasn't bad. I know this changes from person to person, but my general matches, it was rare to get laggy. Sometimes it would, of course, depends on the connection, but for the bulk of it, it was fine. And I think one of the best parts about having 3DS and Wii U is it kind of gave me that early glimpse of the Switch nature, like the hybrid sort of design. So when I'm at home or by the couch or something, I'd play on the console. But if I'm like in bed or something, I can play online. Online on the 3DS even, I should say. So I'd sort of play both of them in tandem while focusing online primarily in each version. So it's just so cool to sort of put one down, pick up another, and just have Smash continuously going. But Daniel, what was online like for you? Did you like the For Glory for Fun system? Was it laggy? What was your experience like?
I had an okay time with it. I obviously, because I'm not tethered to the internet or anything, so our Wi-Fi, at least at the time, gave me a bit of lag during that, even during the one-on-one matches, because I mostly played For Glory as well. And I recall, because I played it so much, my circle pad slowly began to crack and fall apart because of how aggressive we had to use this sort of thing.
Yep.
I had to get the whole thing replaced eventually until I got the actual new 3DS. And at that point, I kind of stopped playing Smash, so I didn't want to ruin my new 3DS. But yeah, I think it was done as it's a major improvement from Brawl. That's for sure, because of how much more options you have whether you want to just be casual and play with items and play with more multiplayer and with stages with hazards, or you want to have the more of a core hardcore experience with just a one-on-one. But yeah, most of my time was spent with For Glory, and I remember, it was fun. I remember having a lot of fun playing that. It was really different because you could actually do rematches back then.
You could, yeah.
You wouldn't have someone just leave after every single match. So you kind of have like that. Oh, we can go 2 for 3 or best of 5 and so on. But I really had a lot of good times with that one, and it's a limited experience because once the Wii version came out, I kind of just left the 3DS version there as it was.
I think a few did. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
The same.
What about you, Ash? How was online for you?
It was fine. I think for me it was more about the novelty of being able to play what was to my mind the best version of Smash yet, with the most characters online on a handheld. Just the novelty of that. I mean, it was far from an amazing experience, but I didn't have a horrible experience with it either. And like I said, for me it was just about the novelty. I too mostly played on For Glory. It wasn't something I look back on where I'm like, man, that was the coolest online ever. But at the time, just the sheer novelty of being able to play a new Smash game with the most characters online on a handheld was just really cool.
Which is better for online? Ultimate or Smash 4? Because Ultimate has a very different take, where when you're matching with someone, you set your own preferences. You can say if you want items, if you want stages, Omega, whatever. And it will take that into account and be like, okay, maybe we'll do that. Or maybe we'll do what the other person wants. Whereas this, it was always, you're guaranteed, if you wanted one-on-one For Glory, you're guaranteed that every time. For fun, guaranteed items. Which approach is better?
I think, in my experience, by and large, by a massive majority of matches that I have, because we kind of, as a Smash community, preset to like 3 stock, 8 minutes matches. Sometimes you just choose the Omega forms or not. And pretty much every time I've done that, I've had parameters set fairly close to what I've set. So maybe there's like 1 less stock, or once in a blue moon it's a timed match, but most of the time it's always been the way that I preferred to set it. And I do prefer that much more than how they did it in Smash 4 myself personally.
There's also battle arenas versus friend rooms. Friend rooms it wasn't really an evolution from Brawl. It was just you make a room, your friends join, you play. Very simple. Battle arenas, they allow more people to join. There's a rotation in there. I think battle arenas is a better evolution. But I also love just the pace of changing characters in 3DS. You finish a game, you're back on the character select screen. Whereas in Ultimate, you finish a game and you're at this, like, if you're in a room with 8 people, you've got to sacrifice your slot to change your character. And I kind of preferred having, just that immediate, like, game to game, character to stage, just rotational all the time. But yeah, they both have their merits.
Right.
And I guess just to sort of wrap things up a little bit, trophies, because trophies went missing in favor of spirits for Ultima. Spirits were very, very robust. There's a lot of them, but you can't beat the tangible feeling of a trophy description and a 3D model. And there were so many in here. 707. Wii U had 743, so there were more, but like not that much more from a handheld to a console. And they were all specific to the 3DS as well. For me, like, Smash is partly a competitive fighter, and also partly a museum. When I think back on Melee, my fondest memories are learning about Nintendo history, like seeing Famicom Detective Club trophies and being like, what are you? And wanting to learn more. And that's so valuable to new players especially, because they get to play a Smash game and be introduced to a broader Nintendo world. So I think trophies are so special. But yeah, there's just so many cool ones in here.
God, that's so true.
Yeah.
I miss trophies so much. Like, I like Spirits fine. I enjoyed World of Light, and I got all the Spirits. I've gotten all the trophies in every Smash game, all the Spirits in Ultimate. I like them both, but nothing, as you said, John, can quite replace trophies. And as Wataniac just also said in our live audience chat, I miss all the trivia from Smash 4 so much. I loved the way those descriptions were written. There were so many little puns. There were so many cool little fun facts. And of course the models that you could rotate and explore. Trophies are just, man, I miss them. I get why they couldn't implement like over 1,000 trophies with descriptions in Ultimate. Man, I miss them. I miss them a lot.
Yeah, ever since Melee, Brawl, and Smash 4, I've gone out of my way to collect every single trophy, no matter how hard or obscure the challenge is to get them, because they're all part of Nintendo history, and sometimes beyond that. And it's important to have that there somewhere where people can look back and reference those. Like, even Brawl had like the little sheets with stickers, and they would mention there's a whole list where they had when games released in what year. It's an anthology, it's an encyclopedia for certain things in this sort of way, and I think Ultimate really is missing and lacking in that sort of way. It has the pictures and representation of the art, but not exactly like describing who they are and what they are, and I think it would be really cool if they one day add that sort of thing, or at least add it back if there's another iteration of Smash. But trophies are such an important part for me.
Yeah, totally.
Although, and I think it was Smash 4 that multiple people are talking about this in our live audience. I think it was Smash 4 that started Sakurai's trend of openly embracing full spoilers. Because, of course, you had Seven from Xenoblade Chronicles, who, if you know who that is, and anybody who played Smash probably does, it's such a massive spoiler. And it's like, what? Why? You could have picked any other character from Xenoblade Chronicles to highlight.
Just to wrap things up now, because we've been going for a while. We've talked about content, but content isn't the extent of it. Smash games aren't just their characters and their stages. It's all about game feel, really. And if you've played a bunch of Ultimate, go back to Smash 4 for a moment, and you will see how different it feels. There is such a distinct weight to this game. One thing that Smash Ultimate added was sort of these effects when something drastic happens. Like if you do a big launch, you get like the screens have like sparks and everything. Yeah. That's not in here. It's like when you launch someone in Smash 4 and every other Smash, they just kind of fly. Like it doesn't feel. Go. They just go. It doesn't have that drastic impact anymore, and it is a very different feeling. And the game is generally like Brawl was sort of criticized for being floaty. This game is floaty compared to Ultimate, but it's more just a different kind of playability. But it is a very different feeling game. Like every jump feels different, every character feels different. It is just solely its own game in game feel.
Gosh, I remember trying to adapt to playing Ultimate for the first time, because when you get launched, you were just there already by the time you notice, and then your eyes had like catch up. And now when you go back to Smash 4, when you get launched, my eyes are like already at the corner of the screen, but I have to go catch back up because you just kind of float. You just float away. And it's such a different feel. And we were mentioning before this too, like shielding is completely different as well.
Different.
Like perfect shields.
Yeah, and air dodges too are completely different. I miss. Well, I mean, I don't miss Smash Wii U or Smash 4 necessarily in game feel, but at the time before Ultimate, it definitely was my favorite feeling Smash game. Like for me, it was the pinnacle of game feel for Smash thus far. But I don't feel like it's easy enough for me to go. Like, I love going back to previous Smashes and just kind of reacclimating myself. But one of my best buds and I did that with Smash 4 recently, or Smash Wii U. And we just couldn't stand how slow and heavy it felt compared to Ultimate. So, like, for me, Smash 4 didn't necessarily invalidate me wanting to go back to just, get a feel for Brawl or Melee or 64 again. But Ultimate pretty much more or less has supplanted Smash 4 for me in such a way that I don't ever really want to go back to it from a game feel sense, because Ultimate just is so much better. And it is the ultimate Smash game also in terms of game feel for me. So Ultimate kind of replaces Smash 4 for me in a way that Smash 4 doesn't necessarily replace the prior entries.
I get where you're coming from. It's a step to Ultimate, really, where
right.
Melee, Brawl, 64, they all have a very distinct feel. Whereas I think with 4 to Ultimate, distinct still, but I think most of what Ultimate does is like an overall improvement to what 4 did.
Yeah.
Like the impact of a feel, the shielding is better. I found I played a lot of 4 online, and a lot of my matches were just dodging, because it doesn't punish dodging at all. Like, if you just continuously hold your shield and dodge,
right,
you can do that forever. So a lot of matches were just one player and another player just dodging each other the whole time, and it was sometimes rare to even land a hit. Whereas with Ultimate, you are punished for that. You start to be slower every time you dodge. So it's things like that they do just kind of feel like an iterative improvement. But it is still valuable, though, as an entry.
Certainly. I think one thing we should highlight about Smash 4, both 3DS and Wii U, but just in general, is unfortunately, thankfully it didn't happen until toward the end of the game's life, but you had Cloud and then especially Bayonetta just absolutely wreck the balance of the roster. And I mean, Bayonetta by herself pretty much broke competitive Smash 4. And that's not something that you've ever seen with Ultimate. I mean, yes, there are certainly stronger characters like Joker, for example, but I mean, there's no one character that absolutely, utterly breaks the meta like Bayonetta did for Smash 4, and that was kind of a bummer way for Smash 4's life to kind of end, in my opinion. It's a shame that that's the legacy that in the end, like the very end of its life cycle that it has, was Bayonetta being so broken. But I still love Smash 4 for everything it represents in general. I mean, again, it's the game, and Smash 3DS specifically is the game that let me play as Mega Man for the first time. So, can't argue with that.
Just reminded me that when I turned this 3DS on to play Smash, the first notice that I got was, you can now download Cloud from the shop. And I'm like, no, I can't. Not anymore. If you haven't downloaded these characters, you cannot get them anymore. And that's a shame.
Yeah.
That's a depressing thought, yeah. Some people will never play the complete experience of Smash 4. It's lost.
That's true.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What a bummer note to end on.
I know, right?
No, well, you know what? We'll end on a better one. This is the era in which introduced Amiibo.
True, yeah.
That's also true.
And they're like my little trophies, my own personal little trophies that you can have at home, and I love these things, and I have too many of them. I'm still collecting them all. I have a problem. Someone stop me from getting any more, but we only have like one left, so.
I dabbled in Amiibo. I trained a couple of them, but then they just sort of became official merchandise to me, where I didn't really use them ever. I think I trained like a Link one a bunch, but otherwise, Amiibo weren't really a Smash thing to me. They're just figures.
Right.
They tried to push it hard because it was just on the main menus and such to try and get you to involve. Like, there's like, what is Amiibo? I'm like, oh gosh, this is old news now. But I appreciate what they did during the time, and it's persevered for so many years now.
Yeah. And plus, one other positive thing to go out on is that Smash 4 also delivered the concept of DLC stages as well, not just characters, but we got some amazing stages as DLC, not only old favorites like Dreamland 64 and Pirate Ship and such, but like some really cool new original stages like Super Mario Maker. I still love that stage. And that was, a DLC that, it was incepted as Smash 4 DLC, an original stage, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, what a wonderful game. PlayStation All-Stars attempted something similar where they released it on both a console and a handheld, PS3 and Vita.
Yeah.
But it was the same game sort of downscaled to the Vita. They tried to make two different games for 3DS and Wii U. There was parity between them, game mechanics were very similar, the characters were similar, Ice Climbers had to be cut for the 3DS. but they still delivered such a polished experience on both platforms, and for the time, there was nothing quite like this. It was pushing the 3DS to its boundaries. It was packed with music and trophies and stages. Had some of the coolest newcomers in the series. I remember when Cloud was announced, I just heard like the first note, like the I was like, I was like, what?
Yep.
I went back to watch reactions later, and people were like sitting through until like the 10th note. I was like, what are you doing? How could you not recognize this? So many cool announcements. Mii's totally customizable. Bayonetta being a character. Wii Fit Trainer was such a cool like joke character.
Duck Hunt,
one of the biggest legacies. Yeah. You can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
It's so true. I love going back and watching reactions to those Smash 4 and Ultimate trailers like you, John, just to kind of bask in the energy and the joy that was, part and parcel with those moments.
Mm-hmm. A lot of what we've talked about has been in tandem with Wii U, because the legacy is shared. But 3DS, it's a technical marvel, this game. 60 FPS, it's beautiful, 3D effect is stunning, so many cool exclusive stages. I think this game does deserve to be remembered on the same way Wii U was. It wasn't a step towards Wii U, it wasn't a compromise on Wii U. It was its own game, and it sold better than Wii U, so I'm sure, even though the louder group probably does remember the Wii U one more, I think there's probably a larger crowd out there who grew up with Smash 3DS, and hopefully we've shone a light on that, and hopefully you can talk about that in the comments yourself, your experiences, your memories, your favorite characters, because this was a special era, and while it's a bit sad that Smash has taken a break for now, I'm so glad it has. I was kind of exhausted. I love Smash, but going 10 years on non-stop announcements, I want that special feeling again. I want to be a bit reserved, take a break, and then I'm ready to go all out again whenever they reveal a new one.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny because I think most people, and I think probably everyone on our crew agrees with that sentiment, John. I think everyone's on that side, except for me. I don't know what it is. I mean, obviously, I'm glad Sakurai's taking a break. I want him to do what he wants to do. The man has more than earned it. But for me, the reveal still felt special going into, Kazuya and Sora and Pyra and Mithra. And I would have and still do have an infinite capacity for more Smash reveals. I would have been happy with Fighters Pass 3, 4, keep on going. So I don't know. I get why it had to take a break, and I think most people agree with you guys. But I don't know. I would have loved to have seen it continue, although I do admit, of course, that you couldn't really go out on a more hype note than Sora, obviously. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
It's more of a different discussion, but I feel like he has such a deeply pressed fingerprint on the series that I can't imagine him going without it at all, at least as an overseeing director, perhaps, or overseeing direction. But yeah, he deserves to do his own thing. He might not want to be involved, but as an artist, I feel like he personally wants to make sure that his creation at least goes in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, he's like Nintendo's. I mean, he obviously isn't a Nintendo employee, but he's like Nintendo's Hideo Kojima, where he says over and over again, "I'm done. I'm not doing another game in this series," and then inevitably he's pulled back in to do another one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Sakurai, we hope you're rested. We hope that you're having fun and that you're happy.
Yes.
But yeah, let's end this. We can talk about this game forever. We'll probably do discussions on other Smash games in the future. So if you want to see one on Brawl or 64 or Melee, let us know, because we'd love to talk about more Smash games from the past. But if you want to join that little panel in the corner, the live audience, you can. Only for $5 a month to be a live audience patron, where you get early access to a bunch of GVG videos, you can watch discussions live as they happen, and you can contribute to GVG Cast and so much more. So do consider supporting us on Patreon, but even if you don't, we are happy that you're supporting us by watching this video in the first place. So thank you for watching, everybody, and we shall catch you next time. Bye!
Bye!
Till we meet again.